What's up? I did it. I always feel like so fancy when I remember when I kind of know how to do things. So first order of business, we've got to satisfy the FTC. So y'all, I have on Lethal sent this to me in PR, and I have this on. These are gorgeous. I tried to film today. I may like do like a short thing of showing these swatches, but this is absolutely beautiful. And I put photos up on Instagram. So follow me on Instagram so that you can see what this looks like. I have it in several different lighting formats because I feel like not everybody fully understands multichromes and duochromes and how they differ and how they photograph differently in different lighting. So I do have that up on my IG. Hi Leanne. Listen, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, like it's like I know I'm bleeding subscribers. I don't know. It could be just that I suck. It could be that I'm not doing enough content. You know what I mean? I can't. It's hot. It's so hot. I tried to film today because today was like, if I'm honest, the one day, multiple days that it wasn't so hot that I could actually like sit and film. But I cannot do it. I'm outside for anywhere between 4 and 6 hours a day, and it's just like, ooh, it's a lot. Like Monday, I was out till almost like I was out till 6 o'clock, and I left the office. I feel like around 11:30 ish or so, maybe 10:30. So like it's really, 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 really hot. And it's so hot that Satan himself is like, I'm leaving Texas. I'll be back in the winter. So I'm trying, but like I cannot. I wish I could have consistent content for YouTube. Period. I have more consistent content for my patrons and channel members. Feel free to join if you'd like to. I will have that in the description box after this live is over. Join into the conversation. We are having conversations over there. We're having movie nights. It's Christmas in July, which means I am watching horror films because to me, Halloween is my Christmas. And we're also doing makeup playtimes. And I'm excited to do a makeup playtime because of this. Sir, no, no, don't do that. So yeah, it has been it's nightmarish. If I if I even dared to show you like I did share this with my patrons already. What Prime Day is looking like for us. It's not great. Prime Day for me is not great, and I still order things like that's not me being shitty, but I will say like y'all, it's hot. If you have the ability to do so, have a table out for your delivery folks, not just USPS, for everybody. Have a table out, and it's honestly going to get worse if UPS goes on strike. So just keep us in mind because like USPS keeps saying like we can handle it. We can't handle it. We actually cannot handle it. We can barely handle Prime Day. We do not have enough employees for this shit. So just want to throw that out. Um, no, you can feel free to buy stuff. You know what I mean? Like you can absolutely feel free to buy things, but like just like if you can, I know it's an invisible job. I get it, but like just so there's that order of business. The next order of business, we did the FTC. The next order of business is giving mad love and props to my channel members and patrons, without whom I would not be able to create any content at this point. Y'all are allowing me the ability to do some fun live streams with just us, where I can chop those up, put those into a video, and be able to continue to keep content up for everybody. It's just it is not, this is a rough time. So I'm trying. I'm literally trying. I cannot do it. I can't do it. Like it's so, when I put, Monday was so humid. I wasn't sweating properly. I was sweating a lot. And I actually, for the first time in a really like long time, had sweat coming down into my eyes, and it's salty and it burns. And then with the humidity, you don't sweat properly. So it's just been kind of like a nightmare. Thank you. High frequency beauty. What's up? Thank you. Listen, I ate with this. I ate food. It's the lime crime. This is not an ad. I bought this with my monies. I like this for streaming because I can eat, I can drink, and it stays on. So That's my love. This particular shade, I think, is Blood Moon. So if anybody's interested, I do not have links. I actually don't care about that part. Does it make money? Yeah, but honestly, not a fan. Oh, listen. So I have AC in mine, but a lot of people are still driving the rat traps. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's a nasty time. It is a very nasty time. I'm so shocked to see so many in here though. Like uh Sarojan, I'm so sorry. Ugh. And that's the thing is like in the South, like it's just it's it's getting progressively hotter and progressively more humid. And for those of you who do not understand like high humidity and high dew point, that is the most dangerous that we can be when it's hot because you cannot sweat the way that you need to. It like won't cool you off. It doesn't work because it's so humid that the sweat is not cooling you because it's already wet. Does that make sense? Like you're already wet. It's already wet. You're trying to make your body is literally out there like, hey, we sent out the cooling stuff. What's happening? Why isn't it cooling? I don't know, man. I sent it out. So it's like it's a wild time. See, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for validating me right now. Yeah. So I have a few things that I want to get into today. I don't want to be on like for super long, but it'll probably be an hour because that's who I am as a person. I'll be like, I don't want to be on for a long time. And then an hour later, I'm still here. I want to talk about, first of all, a trigger warning for anybody watching this on the replay and everybody in here. This is going to be talking about, DV, abuse and whatnot. So if that is like going to upset you, please protect your peace because you do not need to be here for that. You don't need to like have to feel any triggers or stress from these situations. But I'm going to be sharing some of my own personal things. We're going to start with the Keke Palmer situation. Just a quick recap in case anybody missed it. Keke Palmer has a man that lives in her house that she had a baby with, and she went to an Usher concert, his Las Vegas residency, I do believe, and she was looking good. She was looking real good, like real good. And I'm Arrow Ace, and I'm going to tell you right now, I would risk it all for Usher Raymond. Okay, I would risk it all. Okay, I would consent to the snooze for Usher Raymond. Okay. If Usher Raymond was in my DMs tomorrow, listen, I would be there. Okay. It's Usher Raymond. But it didn't, to me personally, didn't look like anything. But he decided to put her on blast on Twitter like some kind of idiot. And then Black Twitter got a hold of him. And for a period of time, he hopped off of the internet. And then he came back and then when he came back, he erased all evidence of her on his socials. Here's my opinion, just a quick side, is I think that these people were broken up before she even went to this concert because what other reason did he have to blast her on social than she had dumped his ass beforehand? I really think that that's true. That's alleged. That's allegedly. Like, don't come for me. Don't be in this thing being like, oh, but I think that it's true. Here's why. My personal experience with this, my ex-husband, we had always promised, for those of you who do not know this, but we had always promised we were not going to be those like wild ass people on Facebook just announcing their breakup or whatever. And I got home from work one day after we had split. I'm living in my own joint at this point. And I get home from work. I have my friend Amy who's messaging me being like, hey, are you okay? And I'm like, what do you mean? Am I okay? Like, yes, I'm okay. What do you mean? What do you mean? And she was like, I saw the post on Facebook. And I was like, I'm sorry. He had announced our divorce on Facebook as if that was okay. Now, me being me, full hardcore Taurus, I was like, oh no, we're not playing this game. I'm not going to get into this. But to add context to the situation, I was also very much aware that what he wanted was something I could not do, which was to react. I knew he wanted a reaction. That had been a large part of our emotionally abusive relationship, was him doing things like this and humiliating me and forcing a reaction out of me. And so I was like, I will not be doing that. So I immediately shut down that page, refriended some folks, had a new Facebook page up, and I never addressed it. And this brings me a little bit to the Jonah Hill situation, which is when we're talking about abuse in relationships. I get very frustrated with men. I hope I don't cry. I don't know. I never know how my emotions are going to work because if y'all saw my TikTok video, like I really don't know how they work. Like I don't know when sadness will hit me. So if I cry, like please pay no attention to it. Just like act like it's not happening. Don't be like, oh my God. Just like let me process however I want to. I'll probably just act like it's not happening. But the thing about the Jonah Hill situation that people do not understand is this is why I always say that media has a huge impact on us as people because media has shown us time over time over time what abuse looks like. If you talk about movies like Sleeping with the Enemy, you talk about movies like Enough, these movies consistently show us that abuse is only physical, right? And without like a nicer word for it, these men in these movies beat the ever loving shit out of these women. And of course, we're on their side. We will always be on their side. But like that is our view of what abuse is. And this is why emotional abuse and emotional manipulation is so dangerous because most people, especially women, do not know that they are being abused, myself included, because we're not getting hit. And so, one of the things, and I can't speak to physical abuse because I've never had to experience that. And I'm so sorry for anyone who has. But a thing that people don't realize is that, like, even when it comes to physical abuse, when people ask stupid questions, like, I can't believe, like, the first time someone hits me, I'm out. And it's like, you're not, because a lot of times they've used the words part of it, the emotional manipulation part of it first, right? So a lot of what they've done is they have love bombed you. Like in my case, my ex-husband was very much love bomb me, started taking care of problems, handling business, doing all of this stuff. And as a neurodivergent person, I cannot tell you how stressful it is for us to manage our lives. Like, I can't speak for neurotypical people, but I can tell you this happens a lot to neurodivergent women and femmes where we end up in abusive situations because it's easier at the time. It seems like the person loves you. They're taking care of everything. They are making sure that you don't have to handle your life. And for a lot of us, it's so much easier to hand those reins over because we're already having a hard time, especially if you're undiagnosed for a long period of time. It's already difficult. You're already stressed out trying to like manage just like the smallest things in your life, like girl dinner, just trying to like manage eating, doing all these things. And then someone comes in, they sweep you off of your feet. They're handling everything. If you know somebody's calling, if a bill collector's calling you, you know, they're like, I've got this, I'll take care of this for you. And you're like, oh my God, Prince Charming. That's not what's happening. And you don't realize that until later, but he would consistently do things like that. And so when you talk about physical abuse in that sense, I don't think people realize that all of that stuff happened beforehand. And when they do get physical with their violence, they then utilize the same tactics they've been using from the front end to tell you that this was your fault, that if you had done X or you had done Y, they would not have had to do this to you. Now, with emotional and manipulation and emotional abuse, a lot of times that it both of them are control, right? But in like they will use these words against you to make you feel small at all times. They will consistently do that. Thank you. They will not allow you to feel good about yourself, right? Like I had multiple situations in my marriage where I was just like, everything I did was wrong, right? And not in a way that like made me feel terrible from jump, right? It was just like little things where they pick at you, right? Little things that get you to stop being yourself. And I can for sure tell you that a lot of people who knew me before I met him and knew me after I met him all said the same thing. And the thing that they said was, it's so good to see you happy and yourself again. I got smaller. And I don't feel like I know people want to do their whole thing with, you know, Jonah Hill's ex and being very much like, well, now she's just letting it, how dare she do this? And I'm just like, y'all, we need to talk about emotional abuse and emotional manipulation because if we don't, there's going to be yet another generation of young women and non-binary femmes who don't realize that this is happening to them. And you don't realize it until after. There's literally parts of my life that I don't remember because I had to just like black them out. And then like even now they come to me randomly. Like I was in Abby Williamson's Twitch stream and I realized all of a sudden that I've seen Willie Nelson in concert, y'all. I don't remember. I don't remember because of all the shit that led up to it. Every time we did something, we went on vacation, there was always something where he would find ways to bully me for like any little thing. One, there's two situations that I can tell you in that really got me to where I was like, well, looking back on it, I was like, oh, okay. One of the things he would often say to me is like, maybe we just have different standards of clean, as if I was like a dirty person. So to be better about this, I had a day off. I spent the whole day like cleaning the entryway to our home, and I thought that he would notice it immediately because he had said that we have different standards of clean. I'm not good at cleaning. He walks in the house, says nothing. I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting. Hours go by. He says nothing, and then finally I look at him. I'm like, "Hey, did you notice anything when you walked in?" He's like, "What?" I was like, "Well, I cleaned this." I was like, "Oh, yeah, good job." Like after he says this thing to me, you would think that that would be a thing that he would notice immediately. Like he would walk in and be like, "Wow." Because somebody who actually cared and was like, "Hey, I just feel like our cleaning styles are different," will walk in and be like, "Wow, I'm glad you did that. You know, it feels really good that we're both on the same page." Instead, it was just like he never noticed. So it was never about the cleaning, just like it was never about Kiki's dress, right? The other was Halloween is my favorite, and I celebrate it, unapologetically now. But I quit doing it for a long period of time because we went out. I thought it would be cute to dress as a sexy mechanic, an homage to his career. And instead of having fun, he spent the entire night surly, irritated. And finally was like, well, let's just go home because I was not having a good time with someone who wasn't having fun. And it's my favorite holiday. And I had said that. And in the car, he says, well, it's just, you don't know what it's like to have a hot wife. You're always 5 minutes away from a fight. So you would think that you're supposed to feel flattered, right? You're supposed to be like, "Oh my God, I'm so beautiful." But what it really did was make me feel bad for being attractive. I did, in fact, start to gain a lot of weight after that. I stopped taking care of myself after that because obviously I couldn't be too attractive so that other people could cause him to get into some kind of altercation. This is the kind of stuff that we deal with every day, that women deal with that. Women and non-binary femmes, overwhelmingly it's done by men, but all genders can engage in this. And this is why I hate it when the men come out and they're like, well, if a woman does it, it's the same. If a woman does it, it's the fucking same. If a woman does that to you, it's the same. And now we're going to talk about what boundaries are, because boundaries are not you setting up your rules for another person. Boundaries are what you will not do, right? So, like, if you don't want to take it in the rear, that's a boundary. You see, that's not you telling somebody else what they can't, like, that's you saying, I don't want to do that. That's not my thing. If you don't like to go to noisy clubs, you can be like, I don't like going to clubs. You are free to do so. I'm not the boss of you. Therefore, you can do that. I'm not upset about that, but I don't want to go. That is what a boundary is. A boundary is not telling someone else what they can and cannot do. That is control. That is you attempting to control another person. And if you can't handle a baddie, then don't get with a baddie. Thank you. Exactly. I'm coming back into the comments because it took me a second. I need to get all that going. Women are trained starting very early on that we're responsible for men's behavior. So it's not super hard for men to manipulate us into thinking it's all our fault, period. You like when men get into fights, it becomes like a whole that's honestly why you have the girl who stands there being like, this isn't like you. Stop it. This isn't you. Like, that's why you have this girl there being dumb, trying to stop a fight. Why? But like, yeah, thank you. But I think what I will say is when we agreed to get divorced, he was the one who brought it up. And to this day, I will always say that I feel like that man was playing chicken. I don't think that he thought it was going to go the way that it went. I was very eager to move out. And I will always remember feeling like it was the first time in years that I could take a breath, that I wasn't walking on eggshells. And I'm still processing all of the stuff that happened. I still have to work through it every single day. Like every couple of months, something happens to where I realize like, ugh. And I have to remember all of these things that happened where that was very difficult. If he quit a job, it was different, right? But this is the same person who would tell me like, "Oh, well you're really stressed out at this job. Why don't you quit?" And then if it was taking me too long to find a different job, and because he was like, "Oh, why don't you quit? I can handle our finances. I can take care of us financially." But then when it no longer suited him, it was like, "You need to find a job." And like this is the kind of stuff that people deal with when they're stuck in these like emotionally manipulative and abusive relationships, because the other person is constantly pulling you up, right? And then they drop you back down. So I think that the conversation around boundaries, we really need to understand that like a boundary is not something that you put onto someone else. It is something you put onto yourself. If you meet someone and they do XYZ and you don't like XYZ, then don't date them. Like, why do people think that incels actually have a problem with sex work and for with paying for it? The real reason is because they can't actually force you to like them. Because at the end of the day, they want you to like them, right? They want you to actually care about them, care about their struggles, but they can't get that by paying for it. They can't get that. Like, it comes into the whole Steven Crowder situation with him being like, no fault divorce is terrible. And it's like, bro, so you want someone to be with you who hates you, because that's sad if that's what you want. Yeah, I've heard that for couples with certain personality types diagnosis, they shouldn't enter couples therapy. The abusers use, yeah. So Natalie, so here's the thing. This is what actually made me start like planning my escape. I just didn't, I did financially by this point, I was not in a point to leave, but we did go to couples therapy. And I am never going to forget that our therapist, because every time we would talk, he would have all these complaints about all the things that I did that were irritating. And I feel like, not 100%, but I feel like a lot of times I would try to be like, well, we're supposed to do X and then he doesn't show up for this thing, or we're supposed to do that and then he doesn't show up for this thing. And his was, well, you walk in the door, you complain about your job, but and then, and I don't even get a break. Mind you, a thing that a lot of people didn't understand, and like the therapist, even when I said it, she was like, well, just try this thing, was that he was typically home between 30 minutes and an hour before I ever got home. So like he was acting like he had zero downtime. And I can understand you didn't want someone coming in bitching and moaning about how their day was. But then after she said like, don't do that, and he complained about it, I was like, oh, okay. So I started coming home and immediately going into the bedroom, bless you, immediately going in the bedroom and watching a show. And actually I ended up really enjoying that, because I was like, oh, this is nice. I can watch a show and I can enjoy it and not be interrupted every 5 seconds. And I kind of like this. Within 2 days of me doing exactly what he wanted me to do, he would come in and be like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm doing what we learned in therapy. You said you needed time, and I actually am enjoying this time as well. So I don't know. But the thing is, at the time, again, deep in his alcoholism, the therapist gave me a look because she would always ask him, about the drinking and whatnot. And he would always be like, oh, that's not the problem. And there was a look she gave me in one session, and it was very much a look where it felt very much like she was like, girl, you gotta go. And I will never forget that to this day. Thank you, Dr. Joy. Her name was Joy. Thank you, Joy. Your look stayed on my mind. So yeah, what we need to learn from that, the whole Keke situation, Jonah Hill, is like, we need to start paying more attention to these signals, the signs that someone's manipulating you. I feel like there's different types of love bombing, because I know that people like to always ascribe only negative traits to it. But then there's also like a little bit where someone is neurodivergent, and like sometimes neurodivergent people show their love by like dropping all kind, pebbling and all that. So it's just dependent, but you just have to really pay attention to how that person's treating you, right? Steven, I've been seeing you on Instagram just killing it. I just haven't been like on Instagram like I should have been. Should be. I just don't. Yep. You aren't supposed to enjoy anything that isn't in service to him. Total narcissistic behavior. Glad Dr. Joy turned into your warning sign. Leave taking. Yeah, because like when we finally did end, I had moved out. He tried to take me on a date. I don't know if he did any research as to what this movie about, but he took me to that movie with Jennifer Lawrence and the Bad Chris where they were like in space and the ship like does some shit where Bad Chris wakes up. And then after Bad Chris is awake, he has this whole fantasy land around Jennifer Lawrence and he ends up waking her up from her pod and like ruining her life so that he doesn't have to be alone because he thinks that they should be together. And I'm sitting in this darkened theater, like side eyeing this man while trying to control the tears that are like, because I'm like, you would do this to me. You would ruin my life. And I'm getting progressively angrier, like passengers, just like like getting progressively angrier and angrier and angrier. And I'm just sitting there in like absolute fury by the time this movie ends. I'm like, there's nothing romantic about this. He took her away from her, that son of a bitch. Like, I'm furious, right? We get to my place where he like drops me off and he's just like, I'd be willing to work this out if you would just, go back to, the way you were. And I was like, no, let's get divorced. And that was it. Like I will literally never forget that. That is one of the things that always makes me like scream laugh when I think about it because I'm like, who you didn't research this movie? You're like, I want to take you to a movie and you took me to Passengers. Let's see. Totally good. I knew about ADHD and I had been researching my autism at that point. But I knew and was diagnosed ADHD at that point. Yes, the love bombing is such a hard thing to get past, like to understand and acknowledge what's actually happening. Yeah, because you just it's like I said, I get tired, like handling all things myself for myself. I'm just like, and then having somebody else do it, it's like, oh, weight lifted off my shoulders. He didn't play himself. And to this day, I'm always like, I think about how lucky it was if that's the movie that we watched because I feel like I would still be in that situation with him if he hadn't taken me to see that movie. Like if he had taken me to see any other movie, we would be like, which is the Bad Chris, y'all? I can't remember that man's last name. Hashtag ad. Truly, truly mango. Delicious. Now sponsor me, you bitches. No, just kidding. I cannot remember that man's last name. Chris Pratt. There we go. I should remember Pratt. Like, I should remember that. That shouldn't be hard. Chris Pratt. So now we're going to get into controversial as well because I have a little time and I've slept all day because it was so hot yesterday and I was out so long and I was so tired and I streamed last night, so it is what it is. YouTube has been for quite a while actually. They have been doing like a test on getting rid of ad blockers. Now, wherever you stand on it, you stand on it. And I'm actually not here to like make anybody feel bad for having an ad blocker. I'm here to give like a brief overview of how we got here because I'm old and I remember TV, cable TV, and commercials. Okay. One thing I do want to say up front is that soap operas are called soap operas for a reason, and that is because that's what was advertised in those spots while they were on. The audience was predominantly women. And they would advertise various forms of soap, cleaning products, dish soap, laundry soap, cleaning products. So soap operas are named soap operas because that's what was advertised. The arts have always relied on some form of advertising or patronship to continue forward, right? It's always been that way. So now what we have is people who haven't grown up with ads in their lives. Like people who are elderly like me, I was born before they Let There Be Light was a thing. I was born into darkness, folks, okay? I was born before Adam and Eve were even thought of. That's right. You're welcome. But There was like this whole time where commercials were always there. And then the first shot really, the actual first shot fired was VHS because you could record on VHS, right? And then you could fast forward through commercials after you accumulated whatever you wanted. And most of the time, you didn't even binge watch that much on VHS because there wasn't like a ton of hours on a tape, and you wanted to be able, you had to like kind of watch it if you wanted to keep using it. You would rewind it and then record again. And then the most important shot that was fired was TiVo. And TiVo showed up and they said, hey, you can not only like you can record TV, you can fast forward to the commercials. And the reason this becomes a big deal is because capitalism really starts kicking our ass at this point. And so people are working longer and longer in hours, which means they are missing shows. And before that, you were like kind of chained to when a show came on. And the issue with this was like, obviously, we were at work, you have the water cooler situation. Somebody's going to spoil the show for you. You're going to miss it. And so we couldn't, and the thing was, you didn't get a replay until the fall break or the summer break. Like that was it. You had the winter break and the summer break where you could get caught up. Thank you. We used to run to the bathroom during commercials. And here was the other thing too, is commercials started to get progressively louder and louder and louder. Like this is why it's so funny when people that there's a TikTok creator that makes those like those commercials about those like infomercials with music. They're like, now that's what I call music. Like that shit started getting louder and louder. You couldn't take a nap. So TiVo comes. Then we have YouTube showing up. We have Netflix. And as the internet gets more and more savvy, we start getting into a situation where we don't really have to watch ads per se. Like there's sponsorships, there's sponsored shit in movies all the time. Sometimes we realize it, sometimes we don't. It just depends on how well they do the placement. Like Mike Myers and Dana Carvey famously did the whole scene about like product placement, which is still to this day one of the funniest scenes I've ever seen about product placement in my life. And so all of this has culminated to where we are now with YouTube, where there's just this clash. The clash is people don't think that they should have to pay for content and they should just get to watch it for free. And then there's content creators who are like, well, we make this and it can't continue to be free because it costs us money. And you have this side who goes, well, we don't owe you anything. And then this side who says, well, we don't owe you free content. Where we're going to end up is not a good place, y'all. It's going to basically be like cable TV, because if you hadn't noticed already, your YouTube feed might be a little dry. There's no reason for me to be subscribed to as many creators as I'm subscribed to and have my feed be as dry as it is. Have y'all not noticed that? Like aside from beauty content, which is pretty much every day, and I really only watch a few people, Beauty and the Frizz, Teresa is Dead, Jen, like I only really watch my friends. Okay. And even that, I'm going to be honest, sometimes negotiable. Okay. Because I have to be able to see it and I'm out working. So I don't want to watch your video, like, because I can't watch it. I can only listen to it. So when you're trying to describe an eyeshadow or what's happening, I can't stop. So here's the thing. Years and years and years ago, probably 3 years ago, it's not that long, I said back then that content was going to end up being more and more behind a paywall. And guess what? It is. It is more and more content, even by your favorite creators, is behind a paywall. I know this because, and here's where you're going to really start to see it. Now I'm going to fuck people's brains up, and I'm sorry, but let me get real. You know how you watch a video, you start a video, and it's wherever the video starts, it sounds like they were mid conversation about something else, but they're just like, and then it just ends kind of either abruptly or like they're about to say something else. That's because the rest of it's on Patreon, and all the patrons and all the channel members, they all got to watch that shit. There is more going on. There's more going on. You just saw this. They're cutting it up and then they're like, here you go, putting stuff out on YouTube. I get both sides of the argument, obviously, because I do both of the things. I watch content and I create content. But I think that there is a level of us having gotten used to, and I think that using Napster as an example is almost a little bit of a not the same example. And here's why I will say that, because the thing about Napster, the reason Napster existed was because very specifically, record labels got super greedy. uh behind between record labels being greedy and radio stations only playing very, the same 7 to 17 songs in rotation, it left very little room for us, the listener, to explore and find new artists. But most importantly, I will never forget when the single went away. So back in the olden days, you could get a single from anywhere from $2 to $5, and this was super important, right? You could get that, and you were like, yes. Because the thing about the single was it was the song on the radio, but it also allowed you to see like what other kind of music that this artist made. And the reason that this was so important was because if you got that single, you got to decide on whether it was worth your $20, which back then was a lot of money. Now it's $20 like $4. But back then, $20 was a lot of money. It was your whole allowance. And you would spend it on a CD only to find out that the only good song was the radio song. And so when record companies took away the single, Napster sprung up as a response to like them being greedy assholes. So the thing is, with YouTube, I would say that the closer issue would be looking at YouTube versus Hulu, right? Like there is no such thing as free content. There literally never will be. We want it to be, but there will not be. Um, yeah. Let me see. Hi, Fabiola. Welcome. Yeah, I feel like people are watching more vlogs and people are listening. Yeah, written narratives. Yes. Like I feel like if you're noticing this, where like more and more of your content creators, it feels like they're not making stuff. And I get the people over here who are like upset, the people who feel like I should be able to use my ad blockers, the ads are too long, all of that stuff. I completely get that because some of the ads are long, but it is essentially a self-perpetuating cycle, right? For all the people who pay for YouTube Premium, which I will never go back. I'm always going to have YouTube Premium. I I have, cuz my other channels, when I'm like trying to watch something over there and I don't have premium on those channels, I'm like, "Oh my god, baby Jesus, please stop." Like no ads. I get it. Um but the thing that we always have to remember is that content won't ever be free. It's never been free. Not even way back in the day. Like people fronted artists, like all kinds of things. It will just like never ever be free. We want it to be, it just won't be. I'm seeing a lot of creators moving to Patreon, and then there's a documentary style platform. I see the educational community moving to. Yeah, I mean, and I've said this before, this shit is expensive. It just, no matter what side of YouTube you decide to go to, it's expensive. And I get it when you're seeing the 1% of the 1%. And I refer to YouTubers that way because there's the 1% of YouTubers altogether, right? That make a lot of money, that have Bugattis and whatever, and can, have red bottoms, all that bullshit, right? And then there's the 1% of them in each like little category, right? So media, movies, like beauty, all of that those people make a ton of money, make a ton of money. And I feel like what is happening is people are conflating the 1% of the 1% with the rest of us. It's much like a sports strike, right? Like when the NHL goes on strike, especially when I was watching it way back in the day, Peter Forsberg was not the one who was going on strike. Like it wasn't for his salary. It wasn't for Ray Bork's salary. It wasn't for Joe Sakic's salary. It wasn't for Mario Lemieux's salary. They went on strike for the little guys who are there. They have to go to the games, they go to practices, but they can barely make enough money to live off of, right? That's who the strike was for. And people would be up there being like, oh, they make millions of dollars, can't believe they're doing this. And nobody would look into it and realize like, no, the strike wasn't for the big name guys. It's for the little guys down here. It's for them to be able to live. They show up and they're doing all the same shit and they're not getting paid. And so when you look at it from this, you have to realize that like a few things are going to start happening. Number one, a lot of small creators will just stop creating altogether. And that means, sad face for a lot of us. Like there's going to be a lot of creative voices that we're never going to hear from, because why would they want to do all of this work and just like not get compensated for any of it? And the reality is you have a full-time job. The majority of us doing this have full-time jobs that we go to every day. And I give mad respect to like my friend, like Teresa of Teresa is Dead. Mad respect. Abby, mad respect. Abby Williamson, because like They're literally filming videos in like the wee hours, either early morning or like late night. I could not even fathom it. When I get off work, all I can think to do is like lay down. Like I can't even think about it. Like I'm just like, I need to lay down. It's so fucking hot. Like I'm literally, I peel off layers, I put on new clothes, and I'm just like laying there. Like I hope that I feel better in like, I don't know, 30 minutes. Like I'm so tired. And the very thought of like trying to wash my face and then film, I can't even do it. So I have mad respect for people who do that, right? But like, the it's just not, it's not gonna be the way that it was. Like we're never going back to the days of people just sitting around making bullshit content, like whatnot. Like it's a job now. So like, yeah, I've been wondering where the heck all of the creators are. I keep on adding on more new people into my feed because so many people are either only posting once a month or have stopped altogether. Yep. And a lot of those stopped altogether people are really creating behind paywalls. So my fear is that what YouTube is going to do if people don't, because like the more people that use ad blocker, the longer that these freaking ads get. Like that's the correlation, right? These ads are going to get longer and less skippable the more people that are using ad blocks. And so what they're really trying, and I don't know, but if I'm YouTube, I'm literally sitting here trying to be like, well, how can we make it so that the ads do not have to be a 5-minute unskippable fucking ad? And people can still get paid because YouTube is a web hosting system. I don't like to be on the side of corporate goons, but like it is a web hosting platform and it costs a shit ton of money to keep this. Like you can go watch a video I made in like 2017 and it still looks the same. Shitty quality like that it had, but it's not compressed, it's not messed up. I hated that. Mm. I would love to be able to create on Nebula. I would love that. That would be so awesome. Because like I have stuff where I start it, but I realize I'll never be able to finish it. I just don't have the time to be able to finish it. Like basically if I can finish the video, I won't be able to make another video other than that video. Yeah, there are so many people who will be left behind when content, regardless of quality, just becomes harder to access. Exactly, because that's the thing. As a viewer, I'm really worried about it. As a viewer, I am worried about it because I do not want everything. Like, there's a part of me that is and isn't, but I am worried about it because I feel like what's going to happen is if the ad blocker situation doesn't really pan out, what YouTube is really going to do is what everybody else does, what Hulu does, what Paramount Plus does. There's a certain amount of stuff that you can watch for free, and then the rest of it you have to pay for. So essentially, I feel like how YouTube would use it is they would go, what is going to happen is monetized creators you can watch through premium, but you can only watch like a certain number of their videos before you have to pay on premium. That's what I think is going to happen. And everybody who's not monetized, you'll be able to watch all that content all you want. Great, Stephen. Great point, Audra. I'm happy to see the big actors standing up for the SAG. Yes, standing up for those writers who deserve to be fairly paid. And that's the thing. Like these kind of strikes and whatnot, the creators who are standing up for it aren't standing up for it in the sense of like, oh, I should be allowed to have a lot of money and have big cars and all of that. They're really saying like the ones who care are really like, hey, there are small creators that honestly we wouldn't have. And YouTube does depend on these. Like as much as we can like joke and laugh, they do depend on creators entering the sphere every day because this doesn't work. I mean, who remember YouTube Red? Remember how they used to have their own shows? It flopped. Why did it flop? Like, how did it flop? Thank you. I can't afford all the streaming services either. Like, it's a lot. Yeah. And like that's why for me, one big difference that I do make is like my mods whom I cannot pay at this point, like because I don't make that kind of money. Like I'm literally barely scraping together now. I'm like, ooh, I got new work shoes so that my feet don't hurt. But oh, Nebula's boring. So who do you watch on Nebula? I'm so curious. Listen, 100%. That is true. That is so true. Like I just don't because I think that the appeal of YouTube, the appeal of TikTok is that it's like people creating content. It is not necessarily like a movie. And that is the point. And finally, speaking of movies, y'all, listen to me. Wait, I got a little beauty news. We're going to get into some quick beauty news because that's who I am as a person. I'm being an asshole. Listen, listen. People got all in their feelings because allegedly Michaela Nogueira's wedding was sponsored by Elf. And these people out here like, could you imagine looking back on your wedding day and finding out that it was paid for? I could imagine that. I could imagine that. Y'all can dislike her all you want, and I don't care for her either because it's not my type of content. But let me tell you right now, if a brand, I don't care what brand it was, okay? Listen, if Adam and Eve, if I was getting married and Adam and Eve was like, we're going to sponsor your wedding, I'm going to say yes because I don't have to pay for it. Weddings are expensive. That part, Feffy. Like, are you kidding me? Real talk 100%. Like, yeah, sure. People be talking about like, oh my gosh. Ah, it's not the creators with the app that's boring. I can't find new people to follow unlike YouTube. Plus, all the video essay creators are not on it. There we go. I can't create like I'd love to be able to do like a essay, but like again, if I attempt to do like I can't do anything else, and my job is just too demanding of my body physically. Like my physical body gets like beat up to so I have to lay down. I can't do it. Fully paid for wedding, no debt. Sign me the hell up. Listen, Fabiola, here's the thing. Here's the thing about me. First of all, I like trash. Second, I love action. Okay. And I love horror. All right. I'm very excited about Expendables 4 coming out. Okay. I know that there's a lot of people who are like, the Expendables are? Yes, the Expendables. I grew up with a lot of these people. Jason Statham is in it. Megan, not Meg the Stallion, but Megan, you know, Transformers Megan. I don't know why I can't remember anybody's name today. It's probably because I talked about my trauma. So like my brain is dumping shit, but like here we are. Thank you. If Chick-fil-A offered to pay off my wedding or student loans, I would say yes so fast. Don't care at all who's paying. Just pay, please. Thank you. Thank you, Dark Angel. I don't like her either, and that voice grates, but I would let them pay. It's very, very odd and awkward to me that you would dislike somebody so much as to like begrudge them having their wedding paid for. Just calm down. Calm down. Megan Fox, I love y'all. Y'all, thank you for being here. Thank you for reminding me of people's names. Uh, listen, here's my problem. I'm gonna have to talk. I'll be talking about this on my other channel, on Audra Rand's, just little lowercase, because that's my media one when we talk about media. But I'm gonna be talking about. I'm so upset by them making another one of these because the last key was supposed to be, and then here we are. If Chick-fil-A opened, thank you, thank you. That's what I'm saying. That's why I always use the joke. Like, if you see me out with Jeffree Star, mind your business. I need to get my bills paid. You know what I'm saying? Don't be talking smack. Okay. I have a car loan. Okay. I have insurance on said car. That shit got really expensive. I'm buying a house with my mom. Leave me alone. Let me live my life. Ooh, and the final beauty thing that I really want to talk about before I leave, because this light is actually finally starting to get the better of me. Can somebody tell these indie brands that they need to stop using IPs, unlicensed IPs? For those of you who don't know IP, intellectual property. They have to stop using unlicensed IPs. Please and thank you. One, it's embarrassing. Two, it really sucks when people buy the product because of the artwork on the cover of the palette, only for you to not be able to continue to produce it that way because you just didn't want to pay. It's getting out of hand. And I feel like none of you consulted a lawyer. And when you get the cease and desist, you just scrub everything like it didn't happen. Stop doing it. Oh no. I have not seen Redfield, Natalie. I'm gonna watch that at some point. I saw a brand using the Terry Mugler alien. Don't judge who's paying my bill. Thank you. Do not. I don't care. Listen, I do not care. It could be so like y'all could be like, oh, I cannot believe you're taking money from this problematic ass person. I'd be like, I cannot believe you do not understand how crushing my debt is. like, like let me live, okay? This is gonna change my life. Like if I had enough debt to where I didn't have to work for at least 2 years and could focus on my content creation, pay me. But yes, oh listen. So finally, it's been like a couple years where I've been trying to live up to this, but we're gonna like after Christmas in July, I feel like we're gonna try to watch every single Fast and Furious movie. We're gonna watch that. We're gonna do movie nights. We're gonna try to watch every single one. We're gonna start with the first one. We're gonna move all the way to number 10 because I figure by the time we get to like 10, the other two parts of it will be out. But we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. I am, and also just know that, like as usual, in almost all of my Zoom movie nights, I will take a nap. I will take a nap. I love. See, thank you. Action movies are a good time, and they don't really make them like they used to. I want to say that as well. So but yeah, that is it. That is all. I'm gonna go do that thing where I stare aimlessly into space before I take a shower because this association is self care. Remember that you are beautiful, you are well loved, and you are important. All right. I know that it doesn't feel like that a lot of times, especially in this capitalist hellscape where it feels like you're just a number and nobody cares about you while you struggle, but you are important. You are amazing. Oh, Steven, I'm going to tell you this right now before I go. It's the lime crime. Blood moon. It stays on. Listen, lime crime is like literally the only liquid lip I like. Comfy and beautiful. But yes, don't forget to like the video. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I lost like 100 of y'all lately because I ain't been posting regularly. So like, please do. And I'll see you on the next one.